Okay, so for our last problem in this video and our last type of fraction problem we're going to see in our homework, I want you to look at this problem. We've got y minus 4/3 y minus 7/2 equals negative 3/2 y plus 7/8. Again, remember, no matter what the problem looks like, whole numbers, decimals, fractions, we need to take this negative 3/2 and distribute him to both of those terms in that parentheses. That means everything on the left-hand side we're just going to write down for right now. So y minus 4/3 y minus 7/2 equals, and when we distribute, we get negative 3 over 2y. A negative times a positive gives us a negative, and that's going to give us 21 over 16. Again, remember, we're multiplying fractions here, so top times top, bottom times bottom. So again, the next thing we need to talk about is that common denominator. We need to figure out what our common denominator would be. Starting with 16, because he's my largest denominator, I want to see if he works. And he's okay for 2, but 3 doesn't divide evenly into 16, so that does not work. My next multiple of 16 would be 32. Again, it works for my 2, but it doesn't work for my 3, so that's not going to work. And then 48 is my next multiple of 16. And all I'm doing here, by the way, is just adding 16 to each of the previous things. 16 plus 16 is 32. 32 plus 16 is 48. Now 48 will work. 3 divides evenly into 48, 2 divides into 48, and 16 divides into 48. So that is my lowest common denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything on both sides of my equation by 48 over 1. Now, another big mistake that people make is they see that y, and the y doesn't have a fraction on him, so they think he doesn't need the 48. But remember, when we're doing this, we are distributing it to everything in the problem. So the 48 goes to the y, it goes to the 4/3, and it goes to the 7/2. So that is going to give us 48y minus 192 over 3y minus 336 over 2 equals, and we're going to do the same thing over here on the right hand side, distributing that 48. And we've got some pretty big multiplication here, but again, you can use your calculator to do that multiplication if you need to. So this is negative 144 over 2y, and then negative 1008 over 16. And yes, I had to use my calculator, multiply 21 times 48. Okay? So now if we've done our job correctly, every one of these is going to divide out to a nice pretty whole number, and we can work with those instead of working with the fractions. So we're going to have 48y minus 64y minus 168 equals negative 72y minus 63. So look at that, all nice pretty whole numbers. We don't have any more fractions, and we're just going to work through the rest of those steps that we talked about in the previous video. So the first thing I want to do is combine like terms. I've got this 48 and 64 that I can combine. They're both y's, and they're both on the left-hand side of my equation. So 48 minus 64 is going to give me a negative 47y minus 168 equals negative 72y minus 63. So now I need to move my y's together. I want to move my negative 72 over to the other side. Since he's a negative, we're going to add 72y. So 72 minus 47 is going to give us 25y minus 168 equals negative 63. My 72 y's were canceling. Again, remember not to drop that negative in front of that 63. It's really easy to do. All right, so we're getting real close to the end here. We need to move this negative 168 away from our 25, so we're going to add 168 to both sides. Okay. So we still have our 25y. Our 168s are canceling out, and 168 minus 63 is going to give us 105. Again, we're almost done. We're going to come in here and we're going to divide by 25 on both sides. Notice again our 25s are going to cancel each other out, and we have y equals 105 over 25. Now, again, we want to make sure our answer is in its lowest format, and you'll notice that both of these guys end in 5, and when a number ends in 5, then it's automatically divisible by 5. So we're going to divide this guy top and bottom by 5, and we're going to have y equals 21 over 5, and this would be our answer. Or, again, if you want to put it in decimal format, y equals 4.2. Either one is fine. Just make sure, again, you're rounding to 2 decimal places.